All right, back again. So let's pick up where we left off with SAS.
Of course. So if I could sum it up in just a few words, this weekend, to me at SAS, I've never felt so embraced in my conservatism. And I know I live in the state of Texas, and a lot of people think that that's the conservative state, or at least one of them. I live in North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. So Dallas isn't conservative. A lot of people think Fort Worth is conservative. It is not. It's being ran by a bunch of liberals right now. And I'm not embraced in the DFW with my conservatism. So this conference, for me, was like an expo for conservatism, and everyone was so welcoming. It brings me to tears. But no, I made a lot of great connections. But just the energy that I received while here at SAS, impeccable.
That's awesome. And Peyton also gave a speech at the Blexit Liberation Show, and it was just very inspiring and just moved the entire room. And we're here together doing a live show. So the first topic that I like to get into is Karen Bass, the mayor of California. And I heard a couple days ago that she's considering giving out cash payments to families affected by the ICE raids. Peyton, what do you think of that?
I'm sorry, who's the money going to?
It's going to families of illegal aliens that were deported by ICE.
This is why I criticize black politicians a lot, because when Dr. Claude Anderson said that we are making ourselves a permanent underclass, and that was before 2015, we're in 2025, he was spot on.
Yeah.
But it's like at this point we're cheering for our own demise because I know she has supporters. She's in office.
Right.
So she has supporters. I just don't understand how. You broke into the country, and I've said it a million times. The only right that you should have after breaking into this country is the right to remain silent. California just proposed giving out housing, $0 down, 0% interest.
That's right.
For illegal immigrants. At one point in time, do we stop incentivizing invaders?
Exactly, and this is exactly what Roy Beck, the founder of Numbers USA, was talking about in the back of the hiring line, where he was just like laying out over time how immigrants have been given the benefit of the doubt. They've been given a leg up and a handout, while black Americans have been really affected by mass immigration. And the policies that we're seeing with Mayor Bass, with even the way that they're attacking ICE right now, with the judge that's putting out an injunction to basically say that ICE can't do their job, we're seeing at this time that America voted for less immigration. They voted, they're in support of deportations, and we're finding that these liberal judges and other people around the country are trying to get in the way of that. And as someone that's running for office, what is going to be your approach when you're representing your constituents?
In regards to illegal immigration, or in regards to local officials as dumb as Karen Bass?
Let's do both.
Okay. So my stance on illegal immigration is, again, the only right that you should have is the right to remain silent. So not just making sure that our borders remain closed, thanks to Trump,
yep.
But to really disincentivize invaders. So you won't be able to rent. I think in Tennessee they just made it a felony.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I
Wow.
love their progress. They just made it a felony for landlords to rent out to illegal immigrants. I will be following suit with that, but I'm not on the state level. I'm on a federal level.
That's right.
So if I can do something, if I do have that power to make it illegal for landlords nationwide, to put that in place to make it a felony, that's on my list. But also our school systems.
That's right.
And I'm not here to attack children. Children are innocent, and no, they are not responsible for what their parent did or may have done, allegedly.
Right.
But our school systems are failing. I live in a city of Fort Worth where half of our kids can't even read, but 40% of the people who go to Fort Worth ISD are here illegally. We have to stop that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how is America going to continue to fund all of those things?
Right.
And someone brought it to my attention yesterday that $56 billion, billion with a B, went to remittances. That's money that's leaving the country. That's after they get free school, free health care, free education, free medical assistance. That is on top of all the free things that they're getting. They're sending money back to Mexico. They're sending back money back to other countries. And how is that contributing to our economy? And why aren't we taxing that money? We need to tax that money so that goes back to these communities that are being drained by all these illegal immigrants being dumped into their communities.
Absolutely. And when I tell you, I've knocked on doors for years now, and it took for me to knock on doors to understand that a large amount of the Hispanic community, they are conservative. So when I'm having these conversations within my district, I remember the first time I ran into a conservative Hispanic, she was complaining about one of her neighbors, and she's Hispanic.
Right.
And he's also a Hispanic, but she was like, oh, well, he's from Mexico. And no. I was like, I was so ignorant. Well, aren't you from Mexico? I didn't say it out loud,
right.
but I was thinking
You're
it.
thinking it, yeah.
But no, she's native-born Texan. She's been here for generations, which a lot of our Hispanic community is. But she was complaining about her neighbor that was here newly from Mexico, and in her grievance, she would say that they trashed the neighborhood, and whenever she would try and work with them on how we can come to a common ground, as neighbors, their response was, well, if anything happens, I could just go back to my home country.
Wow.
And that, I can't tell you how many times I've had these conversations with different people, because these people come here. A lot of them are illegal. They buy our houses in our neighborhoods. They're not going to gated communities.
Right.
They trash our neighborhoods while at the same time building up their homes back in their home country. And they know that when things go left, not if, but when things go left here in the United States for them, they're safe back home.
Right.
Everything is stacked up. So, at what point in time do we stand up to these politicians, especially the black politicians, who are just walking around saying that you're not a criminal if you break into this country? How insane is that?
It is insane. And we're seeing that the Trump administration is putting together a lot of deterrence. And Peyton and I were thinking about going to Alligator Alcatraz, but we didn't quite make it out there. But maybe next time. But what we're finding is that there's, again, a split amongst the parties of how Alligator Alcatraz is being run. And the Democrats brought up some good points. I don't like to give them credit all the time, but I'm going to be fair when it's time to be fair. They are saying that this temporary structure that they have out there is very if a storm comes, the structure is weak, it will go down, and they'll have to move people back to where they brought them, right? But they brought up the temperature, the bugs, and it was funny because on the Republican side, they were just like, well, I went in one of the beds and I had to talk to my wife about it, but it's more comfortable than mine. And I was like, that's fine. We don't want to make light of this, but what I'm saying is the facility is not supposed to be the Ritz-Carlton. What we're finding is we have people that came in here illegally. They had some kind of infraction. They were caught, and they're going to be in the process of being deported. Now, some of the things that I would like to see change in the permanent facility is one of the things they have to do is they have to truck water in. Now, if they're going to have it there and it's going to be there for a long period of time, they need to get some piping in the swamp to make sure that we're not getting these complaints and that the Democrats can't say that it's not safe and things of this nature. But what I would like to see on the long term is that these facilities, if they spread to other countries, other states, like Chrissy Nome was saying that there was an interest in, then this is going to be a deterrent for people to come and break our laws. Because they're going to be like, well, if we break the law, we come in, we get deported, we're going to be in one of these facilities. Also, it might also have some people self-deport as well. So we might see the numbers go down that way. What are your thoughts about the alligator Alcatraz?
I hope that we don't have to get to a point where none of this is permanent. I hope that we can have a permanent deterrence, that people just know not to break into our country.
That's right.
Again, we're not setting you up to stay at the Ritz.
That's right.
You want my advice? If Trump is ever going to watch this, send them to Tarrant County Jail, where people don't make it out in Fort Worth. Let's talk about that. We don't talk about the quality of our jails.
Right.
Why are we worried about the quality of this detention center? No one asked you to break into our country. You do not get the first class service after doing it. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be mean. But if anything, we're being a little too nice. Right. The beds, I seen them. I haven't been in the facility, but I seen them. They okay. Yeah. They're okay. I mean, it's better than concrete.
That's right.
So.
That's right. They could be sleeping on the floor.
Yes.
So let's move on to ICE, because we've seen that the attacks against ICE have gone up 700%. They've been shooting at them. And here's the thing. We are in a situation where people are upset about ICE doing their job. If you guys don't like the way that ICE is doing their job, then you need to go to your elected official and get some long-term immigration legislation.
But that's the problem. They have local officials like Karen Bass that are literally inciting violence against ICE, which is insane. And if, for whatever reason, I win my election, when it comes to punishing local officials, you're going to jail. You're going to jail. I'm sorry. But it's insane. I mean, these are men that swore an oath, not the politicians, but our ICE agents.
Yes.
They're local. I mean, they're not local enforcement, but they're federal enforcement.
That's right.
How could you not support them?
Exactly. And, at the end of the day, this is what America voted for.
Thank you.
We voted that we wanted less immigration. We voted that we wanted a situation where our country is safer. We voted that immigration was a drain financially, and the people spoke, and now our president is executing it, and every politician is trying to get in the way of what he's doing. And we have to support ICE. We cannot just let our law enforcement be attacked. And there's a way to pressure your elected official to do the right thing. It's not going after ICE. It's not doxing ICE, trying to put threats against their families or make it hard for them to go to a public place when they're not doing their job. We have to support ICE. So, legislation, H.R. 2, is going to come to the table. And that has a lot of long-term immigration policy that will help. E-Verify. We have to put pressure on businesses, because the businesses are the ones that are employing these illegal immigrants. And I've seen a lot of people dragged away. I haven't seen a lot of businesses being put in court. We need to put the corporations and the businesses on notice.
Now, they may be controversial to bring them to court. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that may be controversial, definitely on both sides. But I agree. We definitely need to federally mandate E-Verify. But it doesn't start or stop there. We need E-Verify. We have to stop renting to illegal immigrants.
Yes.
We have to make sure that they know you're not welcomed in our public schools. And just close this issue circle round. Like, we have to touch all corners to make sure that illegal immigration and mass immigration is handled for years and decades and centuries on end, because this isn't just about us. I don't feel like this is about me, but I do have a child, and I will have more children, and I want them not only to be safe, because let's not talk about the violence, but I want them to live in America or in a country where citizenship is put first. Americans are put first, and not people who broke into our country.
Exactly.
Making a mockery of our citizenship.
That's right. And citizenship is so important, and I think that we have made it light because a lot of people are like, well, they have a soft spot for people that they believe are coming to the country to make a better life. But what about the people that are already here? What about the people that are struggling and have been struggling for decades? You know, we haven't addressed a lot of our own problems. Like, how can we continue to be this savior to the rest of the world? And there are things that we can do to help, but we need to help our home front first. And I think that the Trump administration is putting America first, and people are starting to feel the effects of those actions.
Most definitely, he's putting Americans in America first. But I was raised to take care of home first, meaning I shouldn't be out at the club if the lights are off.
That's right.
So can we make sure that we can keep the lights on in America, make sure that eventually we raise the minimum wage from $7.25 and not advocate for a lower wage just because someone is leaving their country, fix our housing issue, get more of our native-born Americans into mortgages before they sign up for a 4-year, 8-year degree, and set a financial standard for Americans first, and then we can help everybody else first in moderation, the legal way. But break it into any country, let alone America, will not be tolerated.
Absolutely. And we're seeing with the Trump administration now that they're putting all these things in place to deter people from doing it, with ramping up ICE, Alligator, Alcatraz, putting policies in place that are zero tolerance. And we had 4 years where our borders were completely open. And now that there's been a change, a lot of people are getting beside themselves. But I'm just saying, calm down. Everything is going to be all right. We're going to land this plane. But we need you to vote on policies. We need you to get with your elected officials, contact them, email them, and tell them, hey, we need to come to the negotiating table. The problem that has happened, as George Washington put, he warned America against factions. If we get too tied up into our political affiliations instead of working together as a country, we'll be in a situation where we'll crash the plane instead of landing it. So what we should do is go to the negotiating table. We need to stop just resisting for the purpose of resisting, and then go to the negotiating table and say, hey, I might not be able to get everything, but what can I get? You know, what can we do? Where can we find some common ground? That needs to happen.
I agree, but before we can even come to the table and negotiate anything, we, meaning all of society, but especially the Black and brown community, have to educate ourselves on especially the immigration issue. I agree with Washington. The two-party system may just be the downfall of America, but this last election, the majority spoke up. Yes. So maybe that's not true. Right. But if we can just educate ourselves, especially when it comes to the effects of mass immigration on all Americans, but especially the Black and brown community, before we come to that table, that way we know what we're negotiating and why it's so important. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up education, because immigration is not the only issue, but it's an issue that affects a lot of different areas. And if we look at housing, if you have just a 5% increase in the population, you'll see a 12% increase in rent. And we had places that increased by 50% over time. And can you imagine what those rent prices were like?
for those people that saw this change in the population, and then they've been living there for decades, couldn't afford to live there anymore because we're being so generous to the rest of the world. We've seen that economically, that mass immigration can put downward pressure on wages, so there are lower wages. They're willing to work for less, and then we're seeing Americans just being totally ousted from different industries, and then there are language barriers that are also keeping them out, and immigrant networking that's keeping them out of industries. So a lot of times people are saying Americans don't want to work. It's not true. And I know that you know it's not true in Texas, but what is happening? They're giving up. Some of them are giving up on the workforce because there's no place for them. And then where do they turn? Crime. And then if they're turning to crime, then we have to look at the crime statistics. So can you see how it's affecting so many different areas of our lives? So immigration is one thing that we can change with our policy. We can't put fathers in every home. We'd like to see that over time, but we can't do that instantly. But immigration is something that we can work together, negotiate, and change through legislative policy. And that will have an effect on so many aspects of our lives.
I agree. But with that education, what we need in society, what we need from society is to have an open mind. Yes. There's a lot of brainwashing going on. We're not going to tell you anything that you can't Google.
Right.
And even Google is a hit or miss, but I think that that's a part of the problem. No one seems to know how to conduct independent research. Right. You don't just pick one source, especially if it's CNN, yes. But you don't just pick one source. Go over plenty of credible sources, cross-reference, and then make your own conclusion and just pray at that point.
Absolutely.
But we have to understand how to conduct independent research instead of just taking information from one source, which is 9 times out of 10 in today's day and age biased.
Absolutely. And as we think of how we're going to get together, there are organizations that you can go to as a citizen and join the discussion to learn more and hear from both sides. One of them is an organization called Braver Angels, and they do a great job of not attacking each other, but listening to each other and bringing out the facts and talking about the policy. So that's a good way to really learn about the issue and hear that we're not so divided as the media makes us think. And this is what Peyton and I are going to do. We're going to give you facts. We're going to give you resources for you to utilize so that you can educate yourself. Because we can give you information all the time, but if you're not utilizing these tools, you're only going to hurt yourself. So we're going to wrap up because we got to get a plane. It was good talking with you guys. We'll do the show again. And remember, immigration, it affects so many aspects of our lives. Let's get the policy right. We need E-Verify, federally mandated. We need HR 2. We need people to start talking about it and focus on the facts instead of getting into all of their feelings.
But also remember, this isn't a Democrat issue. This isn't a Republican issue. This is an American issue.
Absolutely.
And I want to urge you to research who Barbara Jordan is or was. She is a legend in my eyes. She died in 1996, the year I was born. And had I seen her before I made my choice, I would probably be a good Democrat. Just because she set the standard and went against the status quo. It wasn't favored, or at least not at her death. The bill wasn't favored. They kind of switched. But just research who Barbara Jordan was. She was a black woman, Democrat in Texas, and immigration is not a right, but a privilege.
That's
and
right.
At that, I'll end.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. Policy,
Bye, guys.
Barnes, Jackson, PB&J Hour.